The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Benita Bell Anderson, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Hey, welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. And you may be asking, why is there a picture of the world behind her? Well, today we are going to do something a little bit different. This is going to be more of a travel with purpose type of podcast. And so with that, I would like to invite Azdean to the podcast stage. This is Azdean Elmoustaquim. I was close.
That was perfect.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Benita. I really appreciate it. This is an amazing opportunity.
Oh, well,
I'm very grateful.
This is great to have you here with us. It's not something I would have ever thought to do, so I'm glad that you reached out to me. Let me tell you a little bit about Azdean. He was born and raised in the imperial city of Marrakesh, Morocco. Actually, I have been there. I was on a thing called World Campus Afloat in 1973 when I was in college, and had somebody saying, "Hey, lady, want some hashish?" And but I loved it. I loved the market and everything. So we're going to talk about why would you want to go to Morocco? But his family, like I said, he grew up there. And after finishing school, he moved to the United States. I want to, after I'm done with this, I want to hear why you moved to the United States. And he settled in Houston.
Yes.
So after a few years, his wife, Khadija, and he took their joy for Morocco and their passion for sharing their homeland and started a company called Destinations Morocco. And they love sharing and creating customized travel itineraries to give you the Moroccan experience you're looking for. So I love to travel. And for anyone who's going to be watching this who loves to travel, I think this is a great opportunity to maybe think about, here's something that you may not have thought about and why you would want to do this. So Azdean, is there anything you'd like to add to that little intro?
Oh, that was amazing. I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me as a guest. No, you did amazing. So Morocco is very different. It's a really unique destination, and with thousands of years of layers of history, culture. So it's definitely getting a lot more popular nowadays, in the US and North America versus a decade or so ago. So it's the perfect time to go to Morocco right now.
And I was like, oh, I have this map on one of my walls in my apartment. And I thought, I can use my map as my background. And so if I do my finger, there's Morocco.
That's it right there. Right
up
there.
There, right across the Atlantic.
Yes.
And when I went to Morocco, I went from Florida, and the ship, I can't tell you how many days it took. But the Atlantic was very rough, but it was really throw you into the middle of everything. And the U.S. ambassador to Morocco met us was there on board with us. Well, and we had lessons and everything about Morocco. And then they set 450 students free in Morocco for a couple of days.
Well,
I wish I would have met you back then.
Morocco has changed quite a bit. At that time, it's going to sound a little strange, but not a lot of people would visit Morocco unless they are invited. So, and this is one of those reasons, because you were invited, because Morocco was really close to the outsiders. So it's something has to come up from above, that somebody will go to Morocco and visit. So, and it is very common, for people to ask you if you want some hashish back then. So it's just part of the culture.
Well, there was one stupid kid who tried to take some back on the ship.
Oh wow!
Guess what? He didn't continue with us.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So anyway, but we're going to talk about some amazing things today. I want to start with what you talk about, intentional travel. And with everything, the majority of what I'm doing is financial topics and health and wellness topics. Travel, I feel, for people is a fantastic use of their money if they have saved and if they want to experience the world. When you say intentional travel, what does it look like in real life?
Travel, Morocco is really for everybody who wants to travel to Morocco. Different ages, different types of travel, solo travelers, family travelers, group travelers. But one thing that we have noticed is, us as humans, the mature we become, the older we become, we start to think more than just, I'm just going to go see a destination, whether it's Egypt, Kenya, Tanzania, or elsewhere. So I want to travel with a purpose. I want to have a meaning. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave something behind when I'm not around. So, and that's something that, we started doing in the recent years. And we do groups and travelers. They go to Morocco and they really change lives. They make donations, several donations actually throughout the tour in Morocco. And, to them, it could be $100, it could be $500 which is not a lot if you really look at it in a way. But then the impact of that money on those families or those villages that they visit, it is massive. It is just beyond incredible. So, that travel with purpose has a lot to do, actually, in my personal opinion, with age. And we've had, travelers going globally, traveling everywhere, Bonita, and they're building hospitals, they're building schools for girls in Kenya, Tanzania. So it's just, it changes everything, just because of travel.
Right. And, money is just a tool. And I feel like if you have done a good job and if you have, and you're saying, most people will say, I want to travel. Well, to me, it only makes sense to travel with purpose. So
100%.
Why do you think Morocco is such a powerful place for values-based travel?
Because Morocco, it has, when you visit Morocco, some things will make you laugh, some things will make you cry, but at the end of the day, you will live with memories that will resonate with you. They'll stay with you for the rest of your life, basically. And Morocco is a little bit unique and different, because what makes really Morocco different and unique is the people of Morocco. Especially in 2025, we did a study, what our travelers want to see and experience in Morocco, and we realized the number one experience is they want to have a lunch with the Berber family in the mountains or at the cave or in the desert or nomads. Wow. So, and to us, it's just like, well, what do you mean? I don't really see the value, but I remember Rochelle and her husband, when they went to the north side of Morocco, and they went to a cave that the family has lived there for 29 generations. And right. She did the whole tour of Morocco, and she was like, that experience really, really changed me. It touched me. And it can be something like that for some people. It can be the desert. It can be the nomads. It can be, a similar experience. So those are the number one things that really people want to experience, because they want to be involved with the community. They can go and see the hotels everywhere. They can go and see the nice cities, architecture and all that stuff. But again, they want to really, really get in touch with the locals and the local community and have that impact on the community. And Morocco, again, it's unique in a way. The hospitality, it's within us. It's everybody's hospitable. Everybody smiles. Everybody, even if they want to scam you, they still smile, But,
of course.
That's the truth. But, you see, when you go to the villages, it's something in you that says you cannot just, these people you're probably not going to see ever again. And some people will donate, $10, $5, $20. Yeah. But collectively, that's a massive impact in terms of, traveling with purpose. The other thing is, Bonita, if you look at the numbers for Morocco, 2019 was the best year to date for Morocco in terms of tourism. After the pandemic, when Morocco reopened, we didn't have any more busy seasons. It became busy all year round. Then 2022 World Cup happened, and Morocco, I mean, they got the best marketing for free. I mean, globally, everybody was talking about Morocco, the team, they played well, and so forth. So everybody started like, where is Morocco? They started really getting interested in visiting Morocco, and that happened. And then in 2024, we had 17.4 million for the first time in history. I think since the Pharaohs, Morocco became the #1 destination instead of Egypt. Again, 2025, we did 19.8 million, and again, the #1 destination in Africa. So it is beyond incredible. Then when you go, I promise you, Benita, you will absolutely give some money. You will absolutely donate. It's part of the culture. You feel it in your heart. You really, really do. So, and I think, again, that's what's really unique about Morocco. When you go, you see you're having a good time, you're having an amazing experience, but then you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to invest $10. I'm going to give $20, whatever it is. And I've seen it time and again. And it really makes a huge difference, Bonita.
Right. Well, what's the first decision that a traveler would, say, I'm going to go. What would be the first decision that a traveler should make to hopefully simplify everything else?
Well, they should listen to our podcast.
Yeah, #1.
The #1, because all the information is in one place. And I don't want to sound like biased, but the podcast, we have over 100 episodes, and we talk about the good, the bad, and ugly when it comes to traveling to Morocco. Warning scans, what to look for, what to expect, safety, culture, everything. Each city, we talk about it individually. So I think homework is definitely needed. But then if you need somebody to help you and guide you through all of it from A to Z, then you can reach out to us. But for the most part, a lot of the listeners, they listen to our podcast, but they know they can do it on their own. So because we have all the content, the riads, the hotels, all the experiences. So, but that small percentage, they absolutely reach out to us and we take care of them.
How is someone gonna, I would think that they would have to be thinking about what are my interests? And so how are they going to translate those interests into a cohesive itinerary? If they were talking to you, I would imagine that would be your first thing that you would do would be to ask them, what are you interested in?
100%. You're absolutely right, Bonita. So when we ask those questions, then they'll give us a list. Then we say, hey, we can do this, for example, in Marrakesh. We can do the hot air balloon here in Marrakesh. We can do the cooking class, and we'll give them options, either the desert, Marrakesh, we can do it in Fas. Anything that they want, we can direct them. If something is doable and possible, then we'll say yes. Or if it's not, for example, they don't have enough time in Morocco and they want to do the north side of Morocco, then the desert is completely out because it's not enough driving time to experience it. So, and basically we just help them make a better decision and help them plan the tour. So.
Well, probably what's in the back of everyone's mind is safety. So what's the most common misconceptions that you see about safety in Morocco?
Oh, so many. Safety is the #1 concern for a lot of travelers. The #2 is what to wear, how do I dress. I don't want to, disrespect the culture. But to go back to your point, Bonita, safety is definitely the #1. We talked about it many, many times on different episodes. But there's a study that's been done by the United States. Morocco is just as safe as most European countries. It is level 1 in safety. If you can look it up, in a website. So it is very, very safe. And what a lot of people don't know until they get to Morocco, we have a system, we call it checkpoints. In less than a mile, there's a checkpoint next to another checkpoint, and you'll see the sprinters with the police with their sign and logos, and the cops are there. So there's a checkpoint less than a mile away from each other. Then we have the civilian police. Then we have the tourism police, and they're watching everything. They're aware of everything. This is within the city. Then let's say you go in from, let's say, Marrakesh to Casablanca, which is 2.5-hour drive. Then you have about 4 or 5 checkpoints that you have to stop and they have to search and ask. So it is really, really safe. And the funny thing, last time when I visited a couple of months ago, I noticed I went on, normally we go in the summers, there's no school, but this time I went in November, so there was school. And I've seen the kids crossing the streets and going, a mile or so, 2 miles to their school back and forth. And they have no concern. They felt very free. They felt very safe crossing. And I mean, they're 8, 9, 10 years old. So that's really a really good indicator that Morocco is really, really safe for travelers. And again, because of tourism in Morocco, it's pretty big. It's a big deal. It's the number 2 income for Moroccans, if you would. And every family, just to give you an idea, Benita, every household has at least 1 or 2 people that are working directly or indirectly in the tourism industry. So so it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Well, we joked a little bit about scams.
Yes.
What are the top, what would you say are the top rules about, being smart around what somebody may be telling you?
Everything will happen with a smile, and they're by the hundreds. I'll give you an example. You can be at the ATM machine just waiting to get a line to get some cash, and somebody will be waiting for you and say, hey, they'll show you a badge and say, hey, I work for the city. The city pays me. You don't need to pay me anything. I'm here to help. Anything you need, I'm here to help. Then you get your money and say, yeah, I need to go here. Oh, I'll go with you. Let's go. And then he follows you and he shows you. And then at the end, he'll say, hey, pay me, because they expect to get paid. So, scams, normally there's no really harm to you physically, but it's just your wallet. It can be a few bucks.
Right.
It can be 10, 20 bucks, maybe $100. And then the dangerous one and the big ones, they tend to happen around, the Medina, which is the narrow streets. And they'll take you to like a bazaar or something. Basically they'll be turning you around and around and around until you really don't know where you're at. Then you'll find yourself at a bazaar. Then the people that are working there will shut the doors, and it's gonna feel like kind of dark and scary. Then they'll start laying carpets for you to look at, and against your will you'll buy. So that's those are the bad ones. So yeah, there's so many that some of the common scams I'll talk about Marrakesh in the square. Is the henna tattoo ladies. You'll see them with the needles. They will chase you. Once they spray your hand, and sometimes it can be with some not healthy stuff, they expect you to pay. For example, you look at the snake charmers, the monkey charmers. You'll see them. If you take a picture, they expect you to $1, $2 and stuff like that. So it's up to you. You can be scammed with a smile, or they'll get it out of you anyways. They'll be bothering you. So you might as well just enjoy it and take pictures with the snake or the monkey. So
yeah. Well, what do you think is the best way to handle the high pressure sales tactics? Probably, I would think just be prepared for it, right?
Yeah, just be prepared. And I always say the aim, which is acknowledge, ignore, and move on. And pretend not to understand anything, because they'll speak to you at the same time in 6, 7 different languages until you respond. And once you respond, you're done.
Oh.
So just don't respond. They'll talk to you, Spanish, French, English, Portuguese, Italian. And once you say something, then it's like, hey, American, hey, nice to see you. And so
you probably tell an American a mile away.
They actually do, because it's funny, because they say the same thing to me when I'm going with a friend or shopping. It's like, yeah, you're either from Canada or United States. And I always ask Bonita, how did you know that? They say, you're nicer than the other ones. The other Moroccans that come from Europe.
Right.
But
well, what can you tell about the trustworthiness of a guide or a driver versus someone who's just going to waste your time? How can you find somebody that you feel like you can trust to take care of you?
That's a really, really good question. It is very easy to find somebody. If you hire somebody prior to you going to Morocco, obviously you're going to do some homework. Just don't do it on the spot. If you have to do it on the spot, for example, one of the biggest scams taxis are globally the same. In Morocco, nowadays they've changed the system. If you get to an airport, Casablanca, Marrakesh, there's a kiosk that you pay. They give you a voucher. Then you go to the first taxi line. You give them the voucher. You tell them, the location you're going to, and there's no money exchange. So if you're staying at a hotel or a riad, and you ask the riad or the hotel to get you a cab, see if you can become kind of friendly with him. Even if it costs you a little bit more, but he's going to be reliable. So just spend maybe $5 extra or something, and don't always stick to the mirror and say, hey, I'll pay you over the mirror, an additional $5. Most fares are $2, $3 anyways. So, and then to him, he's making twice or three times as much as he would make regularly. So it's good for both parties. Everybody really wins. And then you have the trust and reliability aspect on your side. So for sure.
Well, for someone worried about getting lost, like you were talking about the Medina and the getting lost, what simple strategies could somebody have in the back of their mind that might reduce, because the last thing you want to do is be anxious about, when you're on your trip.
Absolutely. It's really easy to get lost, especially in the Medina Fest. Just to give the listeners or the viewers an idea, there are over 9,000 streets in downtown, in the Medina in Fest. So getting lost it's definitely, it's going to be, very, very easy. Marrakesh, you definitely can get lost in the Medina as well. But just don't panic. Look at a landmark, a high tower or a mosque or something, and remember it, or a post office or a bank, and remember the name. So if you get lost, ask somebody, hey, do you know where, for example, Kutubiya Mosque, because it's a landmark and everybody knows it, and people, it's easy for them to direct you to it. Or say, hey, what is the postal office? There's only one postal office in the square, and they can direct you to it. Or, hey, what is the police station, which is the largest in Marrakesh, and it's in the square of Jamal Fna. So just make that, in your mind with the landmark. Say, okay, I'm here, I'm in the square, I'm going to go around. If I get lost, I need to ask somebody to bring me back to the front or to, the police station or something like that. Just be prepared. If you get lost, don't panic. And just make sure you stay in a crowded area. Ask somebody, and when they leave, just walk a little bit and ask somebody else and see if it's the same direction. So that way you're getting the right direction to get out of the unfamiliar area that you're in.
Right.
So
let me take a pause here. What brought you to the United States? It was 1995, right?
Yes, that is correct. It's so funny, Bonita. I mean, I lived born, raised in Morocco, and we have a neighbor who came to the US to study, and he was coming back to the US, and I just say, hey, I just want to go and say goodbye and have a safe trip. And then he was like, hey, I can send you the I-20, which is a document from the university that facilitates the process with the visa process for me to come to the US. It was a long shot. I have never dreamt that I would come to the US. I have never thought I qualified, and I didn't qualify by any means. So, and I said, yeah, sure. Then 2 weeks later, his mom came in and she was like, hey, my son called and he really wants to send you the paperwork. And I said, sure. So that was the beginning of it. And throughout the process, all the requirements, I didn't do anything. His family did everything for me, including the bank account and all that stuff. All I had to do is just study English, which I did on my own for like 40 days. And I prepared for the TOEFL test, which is test of English as a foreign language. So I did really well on the test, which helped me with the visa. So I remember that day. It was a busy day, but then just 2 students got the visa to the United States that day. I was one of them. Somebody else, I don't remember who they were, but it's just 2 of us. So it was just, it's a privilege. It's beyond incredible. So you're taking me back, 3 decades.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, wow.
That's awesome. What an amazing people, what they did for you. That's so cool.
You. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about it too is that look at the service that you're giving now, having been born and raised there and knowing the country, knowing the customs, and the value you bring for people that want to go visit there. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what, like a Riyadh is like a hotel.
It's somewhat yes and no, but Riyadh, we refer to.
Tell me more about it. It's like, what is that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, Bonita. If you look at the Moroccan culture or a family structure back in 1900, they used to live in extended families. You'll see the grandparents with their sons and daughters, with their husbands and wives and their kids and grandkids, and they lived in the houses. They're pretty big, depending on how big the family. Some of them will have one level, some will have two or three levels, and they call them riyads. So, and typically, every riyad is different. There's no two that are equal because they are built by a family member. And normally inside the riyad, when you go inside, like from the outside, it just looks like a wall. There's nothing, no windows, nothing. It just looks plain. Then once you open the door, it just looks like a beautiful, beautiful courtyard. And some they'll have banana trees, some will have palm trees. But nowadays they have changed them to some areas. They'll have a small swimming pool, like few tables around to have breakfast. Then some will have like a rooftop where you can also have breakfast, dinner, or just enjoy a cup of tea or coffee. So, and that's what the Riyadh is called. So that's why when you travel to Morocco, especially in a small group or not big group, you can still stay in those Riyadhs and have that really, really intimate experience, because the hotels, they almost feel the same anywhere you go. And also Morocco has over 200 international brands, just in case if you wanted to stay at a hotel, Bonita.
Well, but so the Riyadh would most likely be run by a family?
Most of the time, yes. Yes, the family owns it. Unless somebody...
seems like that would be the way to go in my estimation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So so let's talk about cost. What are a few hidden cost traps in Moroccan travel, like transport or tips or shopping or tours? What should you plan for? How do you approach that?
That's a good question. Really, really good question. It depends. If you're going by yourself, again, do your homework, do your research about the accommodations. The transportation can be very tricky. Public transportation versus private. I because of my domain, I always go with the private, because it costs more, but it actually costs you less in terms of time. So you're saving a lot of time. So then if you know a travel agent that can help you, or a tour operator that can help you, somebody like us, then we do everything for you.
Right.
How much to budget on your trip. The accommodation is going to be probably the first or the second biggest expense. If you choose to do transportation throughout, that's going to be a really pricey as well. So those are the two that really can add to your cost. The food is not really much in Morocco. It's really decent. It's good quality, good price in terms of food. So those are the two things that I would say to watch out for, because your stay can be from probably $90 to $500 or $1,000 per night, or even more. So that's you decide where you want to be. So you can still be in a $100 room for a couple, which is much better and good customer service, versus staying at a 5-star hotel with not really good service. You're just paying for the brand. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times I love being spontaneous, but at the same time, I like structure. How would you say you balance spontaneity with having structure? What are the things that are important to have structure with, and what are the things that you think that you could be more spontaneous with?
If you hire a tour company or somebody who helps you throughout, there should be some structure, I would say, especially in the morning, first half of the day. Then the second half, then the nighttime shouldn't be literally in a structure, because you want to keep it open. Because even you're traveling, you're enjoying Morocco with your family, you still want to feel like, hey, I want to do something on our own. I want to walk to the Medina. I want to do this. I want to do that. Or we just want to have lunch here or dinner here on our own, not planned by you or booked by you or reserved by you. So yes, you can do that, but it's got to be half and half. We don't plan everything from the moment the guest wakes up until they go to bed, but no, we do some of it, and then we keep a little bit open so they have the flexibility if they want to get some time off, just enjoy each other's company. They don't want to be bothered with us, with anybody else. Yeah, you can definitely do that, but it is absolutely the right way to go, Bonita.
What would a typical day look like? With that having been said, what would a great day look like in Morocco?
So many different ways. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're in Marrakesh. Breakfast is included in all your stays. You'll have breakfast first, then we'll have something planned for you. For example, we'll take you to the Bahia Palace. We'll take you to Majorelle Garden, YSL Garden, and then we can take you, for lunch. And then after lunch, you can just say, hey, I just want to walk into the Medina and just do a little bit of shopping on my own. And then we'll set up a place to meet, for example. And then you go and you do your thing. You come back. We pick you up and we take you, get some rest at the Riyadh, and say, hey, you know what? Today I want to do hammam experience for a massage. Then we can book it for you. We'll take you to the spa. It takes 45 minutes for each experience, so probably 2 hours. And then we'll take you back to the Riyadh and say, hey, you know what? I just want to have dinner at the Riyadh. I don't want to feel like going out. Or you know what? Can you book me dinner? I need a dinner reservation with the show, and I really feel like having some really authentic Moroccan experience. And then we'll do that as well. So, but you have the car and driver available to you. We don't set a time. We say, hey, it's 12 hours or, we charge you extra. No, it's just open to you. You have it to use it anytime. So that way you're still feeling the itinerary is there, but you can still make changes as you see them fit your schedule. So.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about shopping a little bit. So we've kind of skirted around this a little bit. What's the best advice for going shopping and like the whole bargaining thing? Okay. What do you tell clients? What do you tell people about going and shopping?
I always say, go and shopping. You have to understand it's part of the culture. It's like having a cup of coffee with a friend. If
like, hey lady, I got a deal just for you.
Yes. If they tell you $10 and you pay $10, they are disappointed. They don't want you to pay $10. They want you to go back and forth and then pretend like you're mad and you're storming off the store, and they have to beg you and come back. And that's the experience that they want, and that's it makes them feel like the $2 profit was worth it. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, don't pay whatever price they give you. I used to say, for me, no, I do. Trust me. Last time I went, because the airline that I went with only allows one luggage, and I had to buy an extra luggage because I bought stuff. And I went to the guy and I had to negotiate, and he said 700 dirhams. And I said, no, I'll give you 400 dirhams. And this is honest, the truth. I was like, oh, no, that's too low. I never sell anything like that. I said, look, you can say whatever. This is what I'm going to pay you. Oh, no, just pay an additional 50 dirhams. And I was like, no, this is my price. And he was like, no, I cannot do it. And I said, okay, I'll just walk to the next guy. And I was walking off. And then he's like, okay, we come back.
He's like, no, come back.
Yes. It's just the same anywhere you really go. But again, it's fun. It's part of the culture. Don't be upset if they seem like they're overcharging you. They do that to everybody, probably to their own siblings. So don't take it personal.
Okay, so next little piece. I'm thinking about like mixed ages, kids, teens, the parents. How are you going to design a Morocco trip so that everyone is happy?
You actually don't. You let the kids do whatever they want. Because if they are not happy, good luck to you.
Right.
No, on a serious note, we've had it before. It's multi-gen, family, and we always base it on the kids. I remember this very vividly with the family. the teenage girls, they wanted to go shopping, but the parents, they wanted to go to the museum. So we were able to split them, have an additional car with a guide, then the driver stay with them, with the kids. So that way they are protected and they have adult supervision.
Good.
So,
Yeah,
and then
I would not. Yeah. Bye, girls. Yeah, leave them in. No, I can't imagine.
So, and they had really, really good time. And then the girls were very happy because, you know, what the thing about Morocco, once you go to the market, I swear to you, things, they get stuck on your hand, they get stuck on your shoulder. You don't even look at things and you end up buying stuff. You don't know how they got there. It's just, you will absolutely buy things. It's just, you cannot say no. I mean, everything looks so enticing and very pretty. So, yeah.
Well, what would you say would, I want you to see if you can think of a time when, like an immersion moment where a traveler felt like a welcome guest instead of a tourist. Can you think of a time when somebody really felt like they were getting into it?
Oh my gosh, yes. So many occasions. I remember so many travelers that we've helped. It's so funny. I talk about this all the time. I remember Pablo and his wife, Harmony, they did 5 days with us. They stayed in Morocco for 18 days. They did 5 days with us, I think, or 6, something like that. We picked them up from Fes. They did the desert, and then we dropped them off in Marrakesh. But then they were going to Essaouira and do other stuff. But the funny thing, we did an episode with Pablo, and you know, sometimes you know how this goes. You know, the episode airs for 30 minutes, but we talked behind the scene for like 2 hours, and that's exactly what happened. And he said this to me, and I remember very vividly. One thing he said, I wish I booked the whole tour with you, because in those 5 days, we were able to see what we could not see in the other 13 days. So, and again, going back to the time versus what you're paying. So yes, when people are traveling to Morocco, they are money conscious. They don't want to overspend and all that stuff. But then again, you look at what the cost. So Morocco is not Europe. It's not France. It's not Italy. It's a bucket list, you know, destination. So you go to it, you do it the right way, and you move on. That's it. So and that's the number one thing that he said. And I remember then the second part he said to me, and I will never forget it. He said that I felt like I was traveling with a friend. You know, because I remember he had it is priceless, because and that's the whole intent, because I cannot take the credit for it. But again, we are hospitable people, and you know, people, they can see it, whether you're genuine or not genuine. They can read you. So, and with Pablo, it was very clear, very vivid. So, and this is for most people when they go to Morocco. That's the experience that they live with. That they have gone to Morocco and they were with friends or a family member versus just a tourist traveling throughout Morocco.
Right. Awesome. Well, you've hosted, you know, over 100 podcast episodes. And do you hear any patterns that in traveler stories that, you know, what do you see as recurring themes from doing all these episodes that you've done about this?
Well, I always say price versus value. You know, we start with the discovery call when people reach out to us, and we're very, very grateful. And we help them make a decision if we are the right fit for them. But at the same time, we make a decision if they are the right fit for us. We don't say yes to everybody. I'm being very, very honest. Because what you're paying for is something. I know you will probably forget how much you paid for that tour in 2 months. But then when you're taking away is the experiences, the memories that stays with you for a lifetime. And I remember very clearly, I asked these 2 specific questions to Max when she did an episode with us. She's from LA, and then to Rachel, she's from Dallas. And I remember throughout the process and building the itinerary, I remember Max, she said, this is expensive. And I remember Rachel saying the same thing. But then after everything is done, I asked him again, do you remember before we traveled to Morocco and you said this is expensive? And it's like, yes, I remember that. And I said, how do you feel now? She was like, it was worth every penny. And again, that's really priceless, because we're not a price buyers. We don't sell price and say, hey, we are cheaper than this or cheaper than that other company or tour company or agent or this. No, but we know what we do. Everything we do it from the heart. And the community that you're helping, when you go to Morocco and you see those faces, those emotions, the joy that you put in those people, whether they are widows, single, parents, or those women's co-op that you're helping, or the donations that, you're giving away to, people that have been affected by the earthquake or by the floods or whatever cause and reason.
Yeah.
You're like, this is a really, really good investment. 4,000, 3,000, 5,000 doesn't seem important anymore. So, and that's basically what we do. So, when we build an itinerary, I honestly have no idea what the cost is going to be, because I'm focusing on the experiences, because that's exactly what you want. You want to feel this, you want to experience this, but then the cost and the price comes later. Then it's like, okay, well, here's what the cost is, but then this is what you're going to see and what you're going to experience. So, and it's been incredible. So.
Well, that sounds awesome. I'm thinking let's tie up a little bit of the financial aspect of this. Getting back to the whole idea of intentional travel. How do you feel like that can strengthen like your money muscles, if you want to call it that, like clarity around what you're going to spend, restraint and spending that's aligned with your values? I'm just thinking most people like to feel good about what they're spending.
Yes.
And I think really maybe part of the answer is the value. The people, the experience creates the value that comes out of the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. So, when we talk about donation, it can be, used clothes. It can be, school supplies. It can be anything that people would normally disregard here in the US. And, the last tour we did, we had, the group, we had 21, travelers, and the stops they made, it was just, for me, it was just mind blowing. And we do the same thing, but we just don't talk about it because we all come from villages and we all have families and neighbors and all that stuff to help and support when we can. And it's just an amazing, amazing opportunity. And again, when people do budget for this, and it's not really a big budget. Again, I'll give you just an example. During the earthquake a few years ago, we set up some families in my village. We put them on a payroll. We did a campaign, and a lot of people helped. Some of the travelers that went with us, they helped. Some of the listeners to the podcast helped. So we collected some money, and we were able to support 10 families, for a few months. And it's the grandma that she cannot work; she's too old to work, but she has 2 grandkids that they need to go to school. They need this and they need that. So we were able to do that for 2 months. Supporting that many families, it's beyond incredible. But then again, it's really not a lot of money. In the villages, $100, $150, it's a lot of money. So yeah. So if you look at it for me, I'm in Houston. I want to go for a drink. It's the weekend, me and my friend. It's probably going to cost me the same thing, but we don't look at it that way. But then, even buying Starbucks, it costs you $3, but then collectively a month, that's the same thing. So the money goes really, really, really long way. And then, the funny thing, when people travel with purpose, they want to come back because they have invested. I remember the group that I went with in Morocco. They did something in Kenya. I think it was a school for girls. So the project, the city, the mayor, they finished it. So they needed them to go back to Kenya so they can, thank them and say, hey, your investment has,
which is over on the other side of the continent. Absolutely.
And it's just, trust me. And once you start traveling this way, and again, these things, they come with age. When in my 20s, I didn't think I would never do this. I would never give something. I never travel with a local guide, but then you got to a certain age and I experienced it and I was like, this is the right way to travel. So, it's just, it makes a huge difference. And once you donate, once you help, it stays with you. Anywhere you go to Vietnam, you go to Thailand, you go to India, you go to Bangladesh, you will help. It doesn't matter how small that help is. It becomes part of you. It becomes part of your DNA. So it's just incredible. Bonita?
I would agree. I would say that, for me, on the trips that I'm planning now, like right now, we're not planning any trips because we're doing service in Hawaii.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I am wanting to, yes, there's something I'm just like, I don't want to just go sit. I want to go help.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I think that is something that a lot of people are saying.
Yes, and it's so funny. I thought of a story. A few years ago, I did a podcast with Nancy Graham. Nancy Graham, she's Canadian, and she went to Morocco, and she was like, "Hey, I want to come on the." Actually, I invited her. She wanted to come to the podcast and talk about her experience. She went with a different company to Morocco, but she had an amazing time. So we talk, about that experience, and then the earthquake happened. In September 2023, she was in Canada, and we were, in contact. It was just really bad. And she was like, I want to do something. I feel that I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. So she really quit her job. She moved to Morocco, and she lived in Morocco, and she was just donating her time to one of the associations, with the girls and schools in the House area, which is in the outskirts of Marrakesh, which is one of the worst areas hit by the earthquake, and it's still suffering because of it. The recovery is very slow in that region. So, years we're back and forth, and every time I go to Morocco, we get to meet, have dinner or have lunch, and we talk probably in terms of collaborating at some point. So, and this time when the group of the travelers say, hey, we're coming to Morocco, we have donations, and we need some reputable places or people to donate to, I reached out to her, and she was like, absolutely, I would love that. And she was very gracious, super nice. When we met, it was December time, but school was out because of the holiday season. However, we met briefly. She got all the gifts, and then the group of the travelers, they came back to the US, and most of them from the Caribbeans. I came back here, and then she sent me a letter with, thank you letter with, it's just amazing with the girls, just the joy, the happiness, and with it they feel, the 208 girls in that school, and it's cold time. They need blankets, they need all kind of stuff, and just to see that impact. And she's like, hey, now I'm working full time at the association, and so forth and so forth. So they are very grateful for all the help that they can get, and it goes both ways. All those people, they saw the picture, they saw the impact, they saw the girls that they're happy, and they felt really good and say, hey, you know what, we definitely want to come back in 2027 and do the same thing again. So it becomes kind of addicted in a way, Bonita. So once you do it, it just becomes part of your culture, of you. So it's just incredible.
Well, Azdean, with that, we're going to have to quit. We are just about out of time.
Thank you.
There, as usual, there will be information about how to get in touch with you on my website, on the podcast website. And so thank you so much for being with us today. It's just, I hope this has opened up and, like enlarged people's ideas of what they can go and do and out there in the world. Absolutely.
And again, Bonita, thank you so much for being very patient with me. And I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity to be on your podcast. Back where I come from, we don't say Hawaii, we say heaven. You're in heaven.
Well, there's a lot of work to do here in heaven as well. People have said you're on vacation. No, it's a lot of work too. There's need everywhere. Absolutely. So anyway, so with that, we need to say goodbye for now. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining the Ask Good Questions podcast. See you next time.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Bonita Bell Anderson next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.